Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday night loving kindness meditation. My name is Alex. It is wonderful to be here with you again tonight. Now, as you know, at the beginning of every class, I always ask you to say hello in the chat box just so I know who you are, where you are. If you're new, I would really love it if you actually said something so I can say hello. If you want to tell me where you're from as well, that would be awesome as well. And I hope everyone is doing well. You know, this is a loving kindness class, so we're going to be loving and kind tonight. And I hope everyone is doing well. As you know, if you live here in California, most of you are here in San Diego area where I'm at. And as you know, the masks mandate was lifted in most places. You don't have to wear a mask. Although what I'm seeing, and I don't know if you're seeing this as well, is people are wearing masks anyway. I don't know if that's going to last, but I kind of like it. People are being careful. There are much more, kind of difficult variants out there that are kind of going to be coming our way. They're about 10% of all COVID cases right now. So still be careful. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons that we are being so careful at the Dharma Bum Temple before we actually start to let people in. We're going to give it a couple weeks, see how everything is, make a determination, and then if everything looks good, then we'll go do it. So, Brian and Linda, hello. I hope you all are doing well. Lisa and Jean, hello. I hope you're doing well as well. So, all right. So we got some people saying hello. That's great. I love it. We had a whole lot of people to start. Now it kind of got back down to 2. I'm not sure how that happened, but that's okay. We're just going to keep on continuing on. And let's see here. All right. So, again, this is a class on loving kindness, on metta. Metta comes from the Pali language, and Pali is a language we think that is pretty close to what the historical Buddha spoke. And when the ancient word gets translated into English, 2,500 years later, it could mean actually a lot of things because this word metta is so rich. We know it is loving kindness, but could also be unconditional friendliness, goodwill, and it's simply a wish to be happy. And it's not only a wish for ourselves and others to be happy, but a wish for ourselves and others to do the things that cause happiness, right? And so we all know what causes happiness, right? Our positive thoughts, words, and actions. Think good thoughts, speak good words, do good deeds. That's the motto of the Dharma Bum Temple. And because that is the key to happiness. That's it. Those 3 things. And so that's why we concentrate a lot on that in this class. And so one of the things that I haven't done for a while that I'd like to do is I would like to read from the Metta Sutta. And so these are the Buddha's words on loving kindness from 2,500 years ago. And he goes, "This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud or demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing, in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, seated or lying down, free from drowsiness, one should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this world. I love that, and I love reading that. And, every time I think about that, and I say this every time, that I'm really taken aback and just overcome with kind of this sense of wonder that, these were words that were uttered 2,600 years ago. That's something like that is phenomenal to me, that they could be so wise back then, and that these words uttered 2,500 years ago are so relevant to kind of what we're dealing with today. So I always like to read that. Yeah, and that's why we're here. All right. So, all right, we got a couple more people here. That's really, really good. Say hi if you're there. The new people who joined, I would love to hear from you. So, I'm wondering how you're doing. Everything kind of, opened up, so to speak, yesterday. And do you feel better about that? Is your mood any better? What's going on with you regarding that? Is there any sense of relief? If there's, are you nervous because, who knows what's going to happen? Are you, where are you with all of this? So, yeah, I really kind of like to know and kind of understand kind of where you're at with this. For me, I was so looking forward to this, and then it happened, and then nothing happened. And then, I got to go a couple of places without a mask, but it was not that big of a deal. I don't spend a whole lot of time in those places anyway. And, I saw a lot of people, like I said at the beginning of class, that they're still having masks on. The sign says, if you're fully vaccinated, which I certainly am, that you don't have to go without a mask. And I went into Target last night without a mask, and I kind of had it on and I took it off. And then I'm kind of walking around and I saw almost everyone else still with it. And I remember feeling like really uncomfortable. And it was an interesting sensation to notice. That's what I like about this spiritual practice. I get to just stop and I get to notice things about how I'm feeling. And I didn't find what I was looking for there, so I left. And, I go, that was a really weird experience. That was a very weird experience. And then, I've been here, inside most of the day today. So, but I did today have a chance to go have lunch with my workmates who I haven't seen in 14 months. So that was really, really nice. So we had a really good time, and it was really weird that, even though it's been 14 months, I work for a really, really small company. We only have like 11 people who work there. And like 5 of us were at the table, just hanging out and talking and stuff. And it was in a way, it was like no time had passed, because it was just like totally normal. Because over the last 14 months, we've been having these meetings on Microsoft Teams and, talking every day and everything like that. So, to see somebody in person, it was great to see them in person, of course, because we all get along really well. But, it was, in a way, it was no different. It was so familiar, but it was quite wonderful. So, Tamara says, I ate in a restaurant and walked bald face into a strange house. Nice. And Jean says, no difference with the opening, still masking up. Cool. And Brian and Linda say, we're still wearing masks. We'll wait a while longer. Yeah, makes sense. All right. Yeah, it's all totally normal. I'm always curious about what, people's reactions to things are, but that's kind of what my reaction to, when I went maskless in a store, I was like, this is really weird. I don't think that I should be doing this. but I did it anyway, just because I just want to say, okay, let's kind of sit here with this kind of, discomfort and see what's going on here. So it was interesting, right? So Lisa says, it did change a lot for me. I've been going places and seeing friends I hadn't been to, restaurants, bars, etc., for quite a long time. It's great to start seeing people. Yeah, right. So there's nothing wrong with being cautious. Like I said, they have variants out there. The Delta variant is pretty gruesome, and it's, I think, 10% now. 10% of all the cases, the COVID cases here in the U.S. But nothing wrong with that. Okay, cool. All right, just curious. So let's do our meditation, shall we? All right. Doesn't look like anybody's new. You may have heard a dog barking. That is Roman. He is a somewhat anxious Doberman, who I love, but, still, be quiet. We're trying to meditate. Okay. Let's go do this, guys. So just allow your eyes to close, making sure that you have a seated position that's nice and comfortable and sustainable for you, so you're not likely to move around a whole lot. And when we sit like a Buddha. And you can even imagine yourselves as the Buddha sitting underneath your own tree of enlightenment, whatever kind of tree that is. You can choose any tree that you want. Upright, alert, ardent, ready for the task at hand, this sublime abiding of Metta Meditation. But first, just to get connected to the breath, let's take a deep breath all the way in and all the way out. Not forcing it, letting the breath, at least at first, be comfortable and sustainable, or comfortable and just natural, not forcing it in any way. So just for the next few moments before we start our official practice of loving kindness, let's just rest as gently as we can in the sensations of the breath. And to begin our practice of Metta Meditation, this wonderful practice of loving kindness, we're going to start, of course, with our benefactor or benefactors, calling them to mind and thinking about their own wish to be happy, their wish to be safe, free from danger, healthy, at ease, at peace in this world. And so all you have to do is just picture them in your mind's eye and just radiate loving kindness to them. And however you understand that word, it always helps if you smile when you do. This is called right effort. This creating positive mind states, preventing negative ones, so helpful in this practice of loving kindness. And so for the next few moments, we'll just radiate loving kindness to our benefactors or benefactor. And now we can shift our focus a little bit from loving kindness for our benefactor to imagine now our benefactor doing this practice for us. And so, same thing, just picture them in your mind's eye. You can picture them smiling down at you if you want. They've already meant so much to you. This hopefully is, pretty easy. And just imagining them doing this practice for you. And your only job is to receive. Receive as much of this loving kindness from your benefactor as you can. Open your heart as fully as you can and just receive all of it. Gladly, willingness, with gratitude. And so we'll do this for the next few moments, receiving all of the loving kindness from our benefactor. So now let's imagine our benefactor doing this practice for us. And now shifting our focus again to doing this practice of loving kindness for ourselves. And you can either just imagine your heart getting bigger and warmer. You can radiate loving kindness back onto yourself. You can repeat phrases of loving kindness, like, may I be happy, may I be safe from inner and outer danger, or any phrase of loving kindness of your own choosing that has this loving and kind intention behind it. Nice and gentle, listening for any resistance. If there is, that's okay. Can you just gently breathe into that resistance, maybe giving it some space? Maybe breathing deeply. So now we'll just do this practice of loving kindness for ourselves. And now finally, we can explore the limitless quality of the heart by doing this practice for all beings in all directions. Upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, may all beings be at ease. That's what it says in the Metta Sutta that I read just a few minutes ago. And this is the attitude that we should take. This is our strategy for loving kindness. So just go as far out as you possibly can and wish all beings loving kindness. And just open your eyes when you're ready. Just taking the next minute out in silence as you stretch your arms and you stretch your legs. Keeping that mindfulness of loving kindness about you. And then we will begin. If you have any questions, now's the time to think of questions or anything you want to talk about. I'm happy to talk about. Okay. Whew, Lord. So yes, Lisa, you did hear Roman. Roman went on a rampage. Roman doesn't like delivery drivers. He can walk right by them and not even bat an eye. It's just that when he gets home in his house and he sees them, then he goes crazy. So I actually had to put this on mute, and because he was barking so much, and part of the meditation instruction, I think it was the second one where we imagine our benefactor doing this practice for us. I started talking a lot and about this part of the meditation, guiding it. And then a couple minutes later, after I was silent, I noticed that I was still on mute. and then you didn't hear anything that I said. So I took myself off mute and I said, okay, everybody, imagine our benefactor doing this practice for us. I thought, oh my gosh. Oh, that was hilarious. All right. So, but that's it, and this is an interesting time to be sure, people are still masking up, like you said, and so there's still some uncertainty out there with everything that's going on. So that's really understandable. So I kind of wanted to get a gauge of kind of where a lot of people were, regarding that. So it's perfectly fine just to be cautious. We're us at the Dharma Temple. We're still being very cautious. So for us, to still do these classes online and still mask up is fine. Is fine for us. It's fine for me. I kind of talked a little bit about my own experiences of being in a store not masked, and it's okay, well, what is going on up here? So it was interesting, and it was kind of the same as March 18th. So we locked down March 19th of last year, and March 18th, I knew we were going to lock down the following day. And so I was in a coffee shop without a mask, and plenty of people were there, and it was like a normal day, and I remember thinking man, I shouldn't be here. I feel really uncomfortable here because I know we're going to be locked down tomorrow, and I know that things are going to be going on with this. Now, of course, I didn't know how bad it would get, but it was kind of the same kind of feeling. So anyway, so kind of that's where we are. That's where I am. So we got plenty of time for questions, for comments, for any topics of discussion, anything that you would like to know. I would love to hear from you. You know how much I love to hear from you. Again, I'm not exactly sure when we're going to open up the temple again. It'll probably, if everything goes well, it'll probably be about 3 weeks-ish. That's kind of what we're looking at. So be patient. We'll get there. If no stories, comma, I feel there's more coming, so I'm just going to wait a few seconds. Oh, if no questions, maybe a story. Yeah, so I'm gonna go. I'm gonna come back in like 30 seconds. That's okay. I'm gonna go and come back in about 30 seconds and see if I could find something really quick, story-wise. Okay. My keynote, yes. I can't talk on my keynote either, or my keyboard. Okay. That's too long of a story, but also too long of a story. I know, right? David Data, that's way too long. Well, that's a good story. I actually finally did read the rest of the Buddhas last year, which is really interesting. Can't believe I don't have the story here. But that's okay. I don't need it. I already know the story. And so the story that I would like to tell, and this is going to be a shorter version of the story, is the story of Mahapajapati. And Mahapajapati was the Buddha's aunt. As you know, the Buddha's mother died in just shortly after childbirth, 7 days after childbirth. And so the King Sudhana, who was his father, married her sister, Mahapajapati. And so really that was the only mother that he knew. He didn't know this other woman, right? And so he grew up with her, and she was very familiar to him. That was that was, his mother. And so the Buddha had been enlightened for about 3 years, I think it was. I can't remember exactly. It's about 3 years. He comes back. And he comes back to Kapilavatthu for the first time. And everything is wonderful. He sees his father, he sees his mother, he sees all of the people, and he's now the Buddha. And, something really, one of the ways that he honored his mother, and this was a big deal for him to do this, was that he gave her a hug. He hugged her. And because the Buddhas don't do things like this, but he hugged her, and so he spent some time there, and he left. And his mother Pajapati, she was so overwhelmed by him just in general that she thought, well, why can't I do this too? Why can't I cut my hair and put on a robe and live a life of homelessness, which is like be a nun, be an ascetic. And so that's exactly what she did. She cut off her hair. She took off her makeup. She took off her fine clothes, and she put on the robes of a monk. And her whole retinue, they all did the same thing. And all these people who were like with her did the same thing. And she walked barefoot, many, many miles. I heard it was like a couple hundred miles, and I'm not sure if exactly that long, but she walked a long way to see him, to ask him if she could join the order. Because she asked him earlier, like when he was there, he goes, "Don't ask me that. Don't ask me that." And she was really upset by that, but she was really, really stubborn, you know? And so she goes walking a couple hundred miles along with her a whole bunch of other women, and she finds him and where he is, and she's about to go up to him, and Ananda sees her, and he sees her robes are tattered, her feet are blistered, she looks awful, and again, she's a queen, and she's lived the life of a queen, and she's lived in the palace her whole life. Her whole life has been a life of privilege. And now she cuts her hair and puts on these dirty robes and walks a couple of hundred miles. Yeah, she's going to look really, really bad because she is not used to this at all. That's nothing that is familiar to her. And so Ananda sees her in this, really kind of disheveled state. And he says, "Well, why are you here?" He goes, he kind of rebuked me before, and I'm going to ask him if we can, if I can ask him about this, if I can be a nun and, be part of the Sangha. And so he goes to the Buddha and he asks him. And the Buddha goes, "Don't ask me that. Don't ask me that." And he asks again, "Don't ask me that." And then again, "Don't ask me that." And then he kind of goes away, and Ananda thinks, maybe I should ask him in another way. And so he goes back to the Buddha and he says, "Sir, this woman who asked to be admitted into the Sangha, you suckled her. She has been your mother. She raised you. She loved you from the time you were 7 days old. She's been everything to you. Can you, just because of this, can you admit her into the Sangha?" And he says, he thinks about it and he says, "Okay, I will do it if she agrees to these following conditions." And these following conditions are called the 8 Garu Dharmas. And Garu Dharmas are heavy dharmas. And, I was kind of looking to see what 8 they are, but I don't know all of them specifically, but they're 8 very specific rules for women, and they're very patriarchal. And they're things like, for example, a woman who has maybe spent 20 years in the Sangha, because the Sangha is all about seniority, this junior monks and the senior monks, who's enlightened, who isn't. And he goes, a woman, even if she's been in the Sangha 100 years, still must bow down and show reverence to a monk who was just admitted that day. If after the rainy season, when the monks usually say, they say all the things they did wrong, and so they have to do that in front of the order of monks. So the nuns have to do it in front of the order of nuns and the order of monks. So they have to do it twice. And the other 6 are all these other, again, heavy rules that are very patriarchal, that don't make any sense. I mean, even to this day, there's so much scholarship about why it's like this, right? And the Buddha says, well, this isn't going to be great, but if you agree to this, then you are admitted into the Sangha. And he goes back to Pajapati and he says, Here are the 8 points, and do you agree to this? And she says, of course I do. These heavy, they're like these heavy dharmas are like a garland to me that I wear gladly. And so she did it. And so she was admitted into the Sangha, and she was the very first nun. And afterwards there was so much written in the story that says, oh well, the sasana, sasana is just Buddhism in general. Well, it was going to last 1,000 years, but now it's only going to last 500 because we let women in. And the story went off to say that that it wasn't going to be as good because we let women in. And then she was admitted, and then all of these other nuns were admitted, and they become the Sangha of nuns. And there was a lot of bickering, and the other group of nuns actually tried to kick out Mahapajapati because they said, you weren't admitted in the right way. And then she goes off to the Buddha and says, hey, they're trying to kick me out because of this. And he goes, no. I said you were in, and when I say you're in, you're in. And so there was some kind of bickering, etc., and things like that. And so she was in. All these other nuns were in, and she eventually became an enlightened being. And that's a very brief telling of this story. But there is, and so many people use the elements of this story. So many men use the elements of the story. So many Buddhist male monks use the element of this story to still to this day try to deny women entrance into the Sangha, because the idea is that the Buddhism is very heavy on lineage, and in the Theravada tradition anyway, the tradition for women died out in like 1049 or something like that, and it's very. It doesn't seem right that there would be no women that are interested. We think that they were just kind of forced out. And so because it's like a dead lineage, you can't just restart it. And so that's what a lot of these monks are saying. Sorry, you can't do it, can't restart it. And so a lot of times they go to get fully ordained in another lineage, like the Chinese lineage, and because the Chinese lineage is unbroken. And so they get fully ordained that way. So in the Theravada tradition, in the Tibetan tradition, women can't be fully ordained. So there's no equality there either. And so we've been really, not we, like I haven't done anything, but we, like people currently are in the Theravada tradition and in the Dalai Lama in the Tibetan tradition are trying to kind of reinstate this. And of course, there's a lot of tradition because we're trying to overcome 2,000 years of patriarchy. And, if you take a look at a lot of the elements in the story of Mahapajapati, they don't make any sense. They don't make any sense. It looks like they were written after the fact to purposely, like, especially in the future, to deny women or to disparage women, like the Buddha's like initial reluctance and the Garu Dharmas and the Sasana only lasting 500 years instead of 1,000 years. Well, you know what? It's 2,500 years later, and Buddhism is still going strong. So that didn't come true. Well, Gene, as to the question is what is fully ordained, it just means there's kind of levels of ordination, and most monks are fully ordained. Usually when you start, there's like a 2-year probationary period, and then if everything goes well, then you're fully ordained. You're fully a part of the Sangha. And women in the Theravada tradition, in most places in the Theravada tradition, in the Tibetan tradition, even though there are Tibetan Buddhist nuns, they're not fully ordained. And so they use this not being fully ordained to not give them as very good services or shelter or teaching or anything like that. And that is what is changing a lot in the Tibetan tradition and the Theravada tradition too. So Karma Lekshe Tasoma talks a lot about this. And I just wanted to give you like a quick telling of this story, Mahapajapati. But she's actually quite well revered in Buddhism, So, and Karma Lekshe Tasoma is part of the Tibetan tradition. She actually got fully ordained in the Chinese tradition, and then came back to the Tibetan tradition. So good for her. Yeah, she's super smart and super awesome, and very, very wise. I don't think she's a geshe, but maybe she is. I don't know. I don't know if she took the exam or not. So it's very interesting how they use, because people are people. Right? It doesn't matter. You think, oh, they're a Buddhist monk, they're so wise. But when you come into this world, especially if you're a man with 2,500 years of conditioned patriarchy, and that's all that you're taught, you're probably going to think the same way. And that's why I'm really glad that I don't think that way. Women should be just as, able to teach and be fully ordained just like anybody else, but it's an ongoing struggle, and Buddhism is not perfect, but I like it. There's a lot to like. So anyway, that's a really quick telling of that story. I could do other stories too. So that's happy to but these other stories are really, really long, but they're good stories. All right, guys, anything before we go tonight? All right, let's join our palms together at our heart, please. And may the benefits of this discussion, story, meditation be received by all beings in all directions. May all beings be free from suffering. May all beings be at peace. May all beings be joyful and at ease. May all beings be happy. May all beings be loved and seen for the beautiful, radiant beings that they are, that you are. Thank you for coming. Hope everyone is well, and we'll see you next week, okay? Bye now.